All right, welcome to Meet the Experts. I'm Cassandra Hesseltine, the Film Commissioner for Humboldt and Del counties, and I am so excited to interview you today, Lori. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Lori Guirard. I'm a set decorator for decades, and set decoration is part of the prop department, which is part of the art department, and I'm basically in charge of procuring all of the set dressing that goes into any set, whether it be a stage build or a location, all the furniture, all the artwork, the lamps, the window treatments, the rugs, all the decor, anything that you see sitting on a shelf, like for example, this is where a set, to all of this. And in many cases, also the hand props, but on a feature film, typically the hand props would be under the department of, hand props meaning anything that an actor touches, like a lamp on a bedside table, that's set dressing. The glass of water that she's going to take a sip from, that's a hand prop. I would typically get that on a TV commercial and SNL, but just due to the time frame that we had to do that crazy show. But on a feature film, that would be under the department of the property master, though the property master and the set decorator often work very closely so that we all have the same look. It's like you want it to be a cohesive look throughout the project, so you don't want to go in the wrong direction. If I'm doing a mid-century bedroom, you don't want the wrong hand props in there.
So what's the difference then? Explain a little bit, because we did interview your husband, who works with props and rigging in special effects. And what is the difference? I mean, distinguish the difference between, he talked about also doing props, like, the pictures and things like that,
Right.
So what's the difference between him and you as a set dresser? Like, explain who does what then in between those two different types of jobs.
Great. On a TV commercial, there isn't a category of set dressers, it's the prop department. So the set decorator shops for everything, shows up to the stage or the location with it, and then the prop department places it to her specifications. And on a feature film, that would be the set dressers that would be placing everything. I would show up with, or a teamster with a truckload of set dressing would show up, and the set dressers would unload it, and I would say, that's for bedroom 3, that's for bedroom 2, that's for the kitchen, and then I would just sort of point, put that there, no, that doesn't work, move that there, and then, they basically place all of the things that I've shopped for.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. And you said they work closely, and we now know how close you guys worked because you married your prop guy from a movie.
Favorite prop guy.
You did, which is such a lovely story. And that was on The Apostle, yes?
Yes, he was a set dresser on The Apostle.
Mm-hmm. Yes, how exciting for you guys. So tell us more. What projects have you worked on? You snuck in there SNL. What are the kind of different projects over the many decades that you've worked that you've done?
My biggest chunk of work is Saturday Night Live. I've been doing that off and on for 25 years. Some seasons I'll do the entire season, and then I'll do that for several years in a row, and then I'll kind of burn out a little bit and take some time off. I've done the past several seasons leading up to this season, and then I did the first the first 3 shows this past season, and then living in Humboldt, I realized that it was just too much. It was one thing to do a crazy 18-hour day shoot day on that show, and then go home and just be able to relax for days and recover. It was another thing to have to catch a flight the next morning and fly across the country. Mm-hmm. So I just realized it was going to be too much, and I wanted to just step back from that and see if I could make a go of things here, or just go back for the occasional commercial. But also I've done a couple of commercials remotely from here, which has been great. Mm-hmm. I did a Red Lobster commercial where I shopped for all kinds of nautical props here and then shipped them off to New York, and so that was nice. I'd love to do more of that. I would love to do a lot of work here and not have to get on planes and go to New York to.
Well, lucky for you, we're in a pandemic, and so people are probably very forgiving that you don't want to go on a plane, and probably happy to work with you remotely. So it's a win-win, because we get you here in the Redwood region, and you get to work remotely because, you know, what's happening. So yeah, there you go. Well, it's pretty amazing. I mean, to say that you've worked for SNL for 25 years. I mean, and that's been mostly, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, has that been mostly in the film parts, so that they do the live sets, and then they also have the film portions that are filmed ahead of time?
Yeah, it's called the film unit, the SNL film unit.
And so is that what you worked for, is the film unit versus the live studio? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that started out as just one film unit with, you know, one director, and I was his decorator, and it was crazy. And it started out to really just be fake commercials. And then it sort of grew, and it you know, once YouTube happened and people could watch it again and again and again, the popularity of the film unit stuff gave it a lot more credibility at NBC, so they added 2 more units. Mm-hmm. So now there's 3 film units. So, you know, and on Wednesday night, there's the read through of the scripts, and so 3 scripts get, you know, passed out to the 3 various film units, and then we have Thursday to prep the job, and then it shoots on Friday. So it's a
wow.
Really, yeah, it's nuts.
Quick turnaround to have to find props and things.
Oh yeah.
yeah, that's a crazy turnaround. One of my favorite ones that still comes to my mind, that, you know, I mean, I've watched SNL since I was, you know, I can't even remember, you know, teenager. But one of them that comes to mind recently, probably because I'm a parent, you know, was the Matt Damon Father's Day special, where he talks about how great Father's Day was for him, and then all of the images contradict that. Did you work on that one?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that one. It's Christmas.
No, it wasn't Father's Day. It was Christmas.
Christmas. Yeah. All of a sudden I remember the tree. Yes. Yeah. Christmas.
Where he kicks the partially built doll hat.
Yes.
Doll
right.
Hat. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Where he talks about at the end of the day, they're sitting on the couch and how great the day was.
Yeah.
And all the memories are actually these horrible times with the children and the holiday.
And the relatives and fighting at the table. And
So
you
have to.
A good one. And he was so sweet. He was so gracious. And like for that one, we had to find multiples of that dollhouse so that we could have one lying around in parts, and then we could have one completely built, and then we had one that was we called it like the breakaway dollhouse. Like it had to be sort of built but not properly put together, so we had to cut all meaning the props, JP.
Right. Yes.
And so that when he kicked it, it would all fall apart, because those things are sturdy. You can kick them and they don't fall apart if they're properly put together. So
right.
We had to cut all the little plastic connections short, so that it was barely clinging, and then you couldn't even breathe around it.
Right. Yes, I've dealt with a prop glass before. When I was producing, for some strange reason, props handed it to me. So could you hold on to it for a second? Like, they handed it to me, they needed to do something, and then they wanted it back. And I just squeezed just slightly too hard, and it was really bad, low budget indie movie.
Was it a breakaway glass?
It was a breakaway glass, and we didn't have a backup. I learned the hard way that you have to have multiple backups. Yes. So
somebody shouldn't have handed you a breakaway glass. That is not your fault. If it was handed to you.
Yeah.
If it was handed to you, you should have been informed what it was and to hold it.
Yeah.
Like
lessons learned.
From the bottom, and then from the top to keep it.
Oh, is that how you hold it?
That's how.
Okay. Yeah, because I took a breath, and it literally was gone, and that was it. We were done. We were done for.
I've done lots of breakaway glass. We often use like breakaway glass windows and things on SNL, and we always had a bit of a supply in our storage room, but sometimes it was a very specific size. So we would have it shipped from LA, and they would get it to us on time, every time. We'd order twice what we needed, like sometimes big, like plate
Yeah.
glass mirrors.
Yeah.
Yeah, not mirrors, but windows.
Window. Yeah.
We would order twice what we needed, and they would all get there intact. It was crazy. But just in case half of them broke, we were prepared.
Right.
Yeah.
That's amazing that they could ship those intact. That's incredible.
Yeah,
From LA, you said?
Yeah. There's a place in LA that Alfonso's in LA. He's amazing. Yeah, we did this this girls' Halloween where they're in this pizza parlor, and A.D. Bryant like walks through this enormous plate glass window, and we did, I think, 3 takes, and it was that was the biggest.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was in the middle of the night.
Wow.
You hear my dog barking?
That's all right.
One of many. So
You want to be part of the conversation.
That'll do. Yeah, that was the biggest sheets of glass any of us had ever had to deal with. And the effects guys that were there, they were saying the same thing. They were like, we've never done anything this big before. It was terrifying.
And so talk about briefly, I think it's okay right now. Briefly, what is, unless there's something you want to do for does your dog want to join the conversation? You can bring your dog in. That makes your dog feel better.
Yeah, let me go.
We're gonna have a special guest. Lori's dog is coming.
Come on.
And who is this?
This is Brant. We just adopted him, and he's a heavy breather because he's very overweight. So we're trying to trim him down. But can you hear him breathing?
Yeah. Aww. Very sweet of you.
Yeah. My other dogs look like supermodels, so we'll have him trimmed down soon enough. He's on a diet, he's getting a lot more exercise. But yeah, he's like, it's hard for a heavy dog to breathe.
Yeah. So going back to the glass, I have a question about in regards to, this breakaway glass, when you have an actor go through it, for the general audience who doesn't know, I mean, they assume that it's a breakaway glass, that it breaks, obviously, and that it's not going to cut up the actor. What is it actually made of? What does it feel like for an actor to go through something like that? Because to us, it looks real. What is it that they're actually physically going through?
Well, it's the other name for it is candy glass, because it used to be made of sugar. Like they would cast things in like sugar and water, and they then switched to some kind of plastic, some sort of man-made material, and it's not as perfectly clear as glass, but it's pretty close. Like it looks pretty good, and you can smash it so easily. And of course, you want to close your eyes, and because you could still be scratched by little pieces of it, but there's usually a stunt coordinator there for it. So
yeah, so it's definitely 100% safe. So, yeah, so it's just visually, it's interesting that they were able to create something so visually believable, but yet breaks so easily and doesn't harm the actor. So I think the first time, if I was an actor going through glass for the very first time, even if I knew better, it would be pretty intimidating, I think, to try that out.
Yeah, I've hit myself in the head with breakaway bottles just to see, and they were extra, and it didn't hurt at all, and it's funny, and it makes a big, smashing sound. But to walk through a sheet of glass, I would be super intimidated by that. I have so much respect for actors; they're magical. I couldn't do what they do. I could never do what they do. I couldn't force myself to walk through a sheet of glass, even if I knew it was safe.
Yeah, it's pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
So tell us, how did you get into this field? How did this all come about?
Well, I was doing window displays in a department store, and I loved the creating little environments part of it, but I didn't really like the retail part of it. I didn't like that it was all about like selling products. I wanted it to be just about the sets. so I thought I wanted to go into either theater or movies, and ironically, I ended up doing a whole lot of TV commercials. So it's like, I guess I'm selling products. But when I found SNL, that was really, that was really where I wanted to stay, because I love working in comedy. And I've done very few commercials in the past few years, because the SNL season is typically kind of like the school year. It goes from September through late May, and then you have the summer off. So originally I would fill that in with TV commercials, but the last summer I was moving, but the 3 summers before that, I was able to fill in with other NBC projects. Like the first summer I did, I decorated Maya and Marty, which only with Maya Rudolph and Martin Short. It only aired for 1 season. It was a variety show, but that filled my summer, so that was great. Nice. And then the next summer I did the pilot of the other 2, and that was Chris and Sarah were the head writers at SNL for years, and then they left to do the other 2. So it was still kind of an SNL thing, like it still felt like family. So I went into the pilot, and then the summer after that, I did a film that hasn't come out yet for the SNL director that I was working with for years, Oz Rodriguez, called Vampires versus the Bronx. So I did a feature film written and directed by Oz.
Nice. Well, the thing that seems so perfect about you working with SNL is I personally know what a wicked sense of humor you have, because you display it all so lovely all over Facebook. Your posts, I live for your posts in the morning. I check. Did you do anything new? Because they're hilarious. They are a wicked dark sense of humor that I personally love. So it makes sense that you matched up with SNL, in that, besides the love of, set decorating, that, and we were talking about this before with JP, your husband, that, the sets, what's behind people is telling a story,
right.
whether the audience realizes it or not, so you're definitely contributing to the story, whether it's the comedy of it, like Matt Damon kicking the dollhouse, and having to have the different versions of it. It's still contributing, and knowing like what kind of dollhouse should you pick that would be funny for him to kick it and destroy it while he's trying to put it together, how complicated it is the night before Christmas, so it really, I can see where it matches up for you, and that's pretty amazing. So besides the humor, and what would you say that you really then love about your job? What is it that has kept you in the industry all this time? Because we all know it can be long and hard, and you said yourself 18-hour days, you have to go home and recover, fly across states and countries, or across the country, you have to ship glass that could break, and the stress of it all. What do you love about it that keeps you in this industry?
Well, not the stress. That's the one downside. It is very stressful. The constant changing landscape for me is really great. Like, Wednesday night I would walk into the SNL office at 30 Rock, and I don't know, like that whole experience for me, like getting in the elevator and seeing the NBC logo on the carpet of the elevator. It was like that was how I marked the beginning of that week, like looking down at my feet and seeing the NBC carpet in the elevator. It's like, okay, here goes, buckle up. And then I would go and read a stack of, between 10 and 15 scripts, not knowing for a few hours which one was going to be mine. So, mentally I would start working on all of them, or if we tended to get the more difficult one. So if one was too easy, if it was just like a kitchen and a living room, I'd be like, we're not going to get that one. So we would find the designer that I've worked with for years. She was brilliant, Andrea Presigliotti. She's still there. We would go through them, and then we would tell each other which ones were the scariest. And we were usually on the same page. It's like, yeah, that's the scariest. Let's just start working on it. And
tell us what makes something scary. What would be scary about set decorating?
Well, just the time that we had to do it and the number of sets. Like I remember 1 week in our stack was this Fresh Prince of Bel-Air script, and I was counting, and I was like, "Wait, did I just count 9 sets?" And and Andrea was like, "Yeah." And we're like,
man.
"Oh, okay, that's a scary one." So we put it aside and keep reading, and sure enough, we got that one. So it's like, all right, so let's do 9 sets tomorrow. And we got a Game of Thrones script that it was sort of the making of Game of Thrones. We've done a couple of Game of Thrones ones actually. The making of, so it was like, all right, so we kind of have to fill the stage with sand. And it's not just getting the stuff to the set, it's then dealing with the fact that you have 25 cubic yards, like this is tons of sand that you've dumped onto a stage floor that somehow needs to go away. And you can't just put it in a dumpster. There's just too much of it. So I found a guy who was willing to pick it back up from us. If we, like, he sent us with extra bags, it comes in these like huge bags that you can lift with a forklift. So, we filled the bags back up and he came and carted them away. It's things like that. The terrifying things it always comes down to logistics.
And then the time crunch into doing a logistics. And again, it sounds like very similar to some of my other interviews, which have been, it's often doing something new.
Right.
Like, how to set decorate, that's the same. You might get a house, but that you have to do a new version that
right.
when bringing sand on a sound stage and how do
Right.
you remove it in a large amount. Maybe that's not your normal request.
Yeah.
Let me ask, with SNL, just logistically, I think this would be interesting for anybody watching this video. Is it on the ground floor? Like, how do you get access of bringing all these crazy props and things to these sound stages?
We were typically in a sound stage. So yeah, there would be big loading bays that, trucks could pull into, and yeah.
Good. I pictured you hauling a bag, of 14 flights, in a New York
elevator.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I can only imagine.
It was most of the time it was on a sound stage. And the reason for that is, again, logistics. Like, if we could go farther outside of, not that you could, we could have found castles driving distance from New York to do Game of Thrones rather than having to create this, castle sets in a stage. But the reason that we ended up in stages 99% of the time was actor availability. Like, we're doing 1 3 to 5 minute spot in a 90-minute show. So it's not like, okay, you can have the actors all day. It's like, no, we might have somebody for 20 minutes. It's like, okay, you can have Scarlett Johansson at 1:45 a.m. until 2:14 a.m. Then she's got to get back to 30 Rock because we need her for blah, blah. It was nuts. It was nuts having to work around, the availability of the actors, because they're all doing 1,000 things all week. Like, they've got rehearsals, they've got other things that they're filming for other units, or just other pre-taped stuff that's going to coincide with, live stuff. So yeah, so that's why we always do on sound stages.
That sounds scary. And now hear why you said it's the scariest one. Yeah. So that's what you love about it.
I do, yeah, because you pull it off. It's like, this is going to be the one. This is going to be the one where we just crash and burn, and then you don't. You pull it off. Like, everybody bands together, and there was one that we did with Julia Louis-Dreyfus. It was a fake Mercedes commercial, Mercedes AAA. So I wanted to. They wanted a car that you could actually crash. So I flew in crash test dummies from LA, but we couldn't crash a brand new Mercedes. So I had to get an older Mercedes, and we had to take the engine out, and we had to take the gas tank out because we couldn't have it explode.
Right.
So,
That's bad.
yeah, I had to find, so that they actually gave me a couple of extra days, which was amazing. It was a rare thing. Like, they started me on Tuesday, and they were like, you got to find this car. So we bought the car and crashed it into a concrete wall, and then we had to also rig it, all these other parts that would open up and batteries would pour out of it. It was hilarious, actually. And then we also had like the brand new Mercedes on set, and Mercedes liked it.
Oh, thank goodness.
They did. They tweeted about it after it aired. We were like, yes. Yeah, it was great.
Thank goodness. Would you say, is that maybe one of your most epic stories of ever working on a project as far as set decorating, or do you have a different epic one? And also, to contradict that, do you have a fail? Because fails a lot of times also teach us things,
Right.
So do you have an epic one and a fail?
Well, the most epic one, I wouldn't call it a fail, except that it never aired. And we knew that it wasn't going to air because it was a giant lawsuit waiting to happen. And it was a fake Volkswagen commercial. And it was in the middle of, that whole emissions scandal. So they were already a little embarrassed. Oh. And so the script comes in the pile, and we're all reading it going, whoa, really? And it was the history. I hope it's okay that I talk about it. It was the history of Volkswagen, and it was hilarious. Like, we were all in love with the script, and it was, we've made some mistakes, but look at our history, and it went back to Hitler being a part of early Volkswagen. Oh. And so
bless their hearts.
Yeah, it was incredible. And so NBC said, no, we just signed a big advertising contract with Volkswagen. No, there's no way you can do this. Well, yeah. Lorne Michaels said, oh no, we're doing this. So he told the director, and he told the director, he didn't tell NBC that, he told the director that. He said, no, I want you to do this. So we all went into this knowing it would never air, but we all just went full steam. It was the most difficult, most complicated job I've ever done. And of course, today, we did like a 1930s German classroom where all these kids being taught by Hitler are learning how to make Volkswagens. Then we had to get Volkswagens from and in pristine condition, and then we had a day to do this.
Oh no!
Okay, so all day Thursday, we had to get Volkswagen bugs in 1940s, I think, 40s, 50s, 60s. 70s, 80s, 90s, and like current day. Although actually for the 60s, we ended up using a Volkswagen van. So then it showed Hitler through the ages in, getting out of all these cars in like for the 70s, he comes out of a disco. So we had to also do all of these sets, all in a soundstage. It's like, okay, a 70s disco. He's coming out of a 70s disco and getting into a 70s, the valet pulls up in his 70s VW bug. And, the 80s, I can't remember what the 80s one was. Oh, I think the 80s was a beer garden. And, so he just keeps coming out of all these locations and, getting into his vintage Volkswagen. And, and we had a factory floor where they're making the Volkswagens. And these aren't like little tight insert shots. These are wide shots, like big giant dresses. And the whole time we're just laughing and going, this is one of the best things we've ever done that will never be seen. So when it was done, a handful of us watched it on the producer's laptop, and we were like, that was some fine work.
What a trip. Yeah, and I can only imagine too, because that's interesting that one didn't air, and that was, so intense, and that you guys did some great work. But I was also, as I was listening to you tell that story, thinking about how funny, dark humor and laughing about, all those moments, how funny, again, going back to your sense of humor and anybody, a lot of people love SNL, how hard it would be to work on them sometimes just because they're so funny. Your partner JP mentioned that, he was on set doing some rigging and had to make a baby pee on an actress, and that, it was hard for him not to laugh out loud and ruin the shot.
Mother's Day.
Yeah. And so are you often when they're, so, a lot of set decorating, as we've discussed, happens with, you're on the set doing that. That's not when the actor then is on the set, you guys put it there, and then, do you leave? Do you stand around and watch the moment when it's happening? What happens for you?
It's a combination. Once all my sets are dressed, then I just watch. I might tweak things to camera. I usually watch most of the filming. And we can't really be working while they're filming anyway, because if you're in a soundstage, you can't be making any noise. So, right. I'll stand and I'll watch, and then if we cut, I might run back to the other set that I'm dressing. If they're taking a break, or the actor is doing a wardrobe change, then I have a chance to like run and work on whatever's coming up next.
Right. So it must be so fun for you to watch, not only it come to read it, then watch you and your team put it together, but then watch the actor live do it, and then later you can see it even just, the filmed version. I mean, that's what a process, and how
dating back to your earlier question, what do I love about it? It is that sense of completion. It's I don't do well with things that I can't seem to finish, like laundry. It's like,
me too.
You're never really done with laundry or dishes. Like, never ever are you ever done. They just keep coming. And the thing I like about this is I get a script, I prep it, I read it, I break it down, I prep the job, I get everything that I think I'm going to need and then some, and then I get all the things that are then requested of me by the director or the writers. And then it all comes to set, and I dress it into set, and then it gets shot, and then it all gets wrapped. And even like the putting things back into boxes and taping boxes closed, I really enjoy that part, because it's just such a sense, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. Mm-hmm. So I love the sense of completion with every project being done.
That's so cool. Yeah, I really appreciate that, because I have the same type of mentality. Laundry and dishes, I just finished those. How is it that I have to do that again?
It's sort of pointless to even bother, right?
Right? Yeah. That's what you hire someone for, if you can. Let me ask you a question, though, that puts us, this is perfect timing, because, saying that we don't like those kind of tasks, and that you like the kind of tasks with the beginning, middle, and end, and all of that kind of thing. What kind of aptitude or training or personality, and those kind of traits, like you were just discussing, would someone need to go into the industry in your field of work? What would you recommend if somebody here in our Redwood region is, an up and coming high school student, college student, or changing their career, or bored at home because we're in the middle of a pandemic, and are interested in this field? What would you recommend to them, or say that they need to?
Well, number one, put your phone away. Number two, put your phone away.
Yeah.
Work really hard at every single thing that you're doing, because and I'm not talking about film work, I'm talking about absolutely every job you have. If you're scooping ice cream at Baskin Robbins, it's like, work really hard at every single thing you're doing, because you have no idea who you're interacting with. I used to do career day at my local high school when I still had a child in school. And one of my favorite stories was, I had a babysitter come to the house, and it was a Monday. She was filling in, during the summer for me, and I was about to leave for work, and I said, "Oh, what'd you do this weekend?" And she said, "Oh, I helped my dad move boulders." I was like, "What?" And she said, "Yeah, he wanted to build this stone wall in the yard, like a little, retaining wall, and." He's getting older, and I knew that if I didn't help him, that he would do it himself. And I was like, wow, that's really incredible. That's really an incredible work ethic. And I said, "Do you have any interest in film?" And she said, "Absolutely, yes. It's something that I've studied. It's my minor in school. I'm a music major, but film is my minor." And I said, "Well, why don't you come with me? I'll find another babysitter for the end of the week, why don't you come with me for the shoot days? I was working on an Olive Garden commercial, and I said, what, just come with me, tag along. And so I bring her with me. She came to the shoot days, and she was just wildly impressive, as I knew that she would be, because she had this work ethic. And she, she went off, and she wasn't like, in the way on set. She would just sort of go off and sort of keep herself busy. And at one point she walked up to me and she handed me this list, and because we had this storage space to store all the Olive Garden restaurant stuff. Mm-hmm. And she hands me this list, and she was like, I just kind of organized the storage space, and here's an inventory of what's in there. And I was like, go give this to the producer. So I sent her to give this list to the producer, and he was completely blown away. She got hired immediately on the next job, and the next job she was offered a full-time position at the production company. And I advised her against it because like she was just getting started. And, it's like when you're getting started as a freelance person, sure, take a staff position at a production company, unless you think you can make it as a freelance person, which I knew she could. And I knew this wasn't the right fit for her. So then I bring her on an SNL shoot. She got offered a staff position on the SNL film unit because she was super, super impressive, So by moving boulders for her dad, telling her about it, having that kind of work ethic, she is now thriving. She moved to, where did she move? Germany? Austria. She was living in Austria for a while, working for Red Bull, in their film division. And now I think she's back in New York. And, just took off. Everything just took off for her. So put your phone away, work really hard at everything you do, have a good attitude, be flexible. And, anytime you can get on a set, get on a set. If you can get an internship, if you can get PA work, fantastic. If you can't, try to get an internship and be on set, watch and learn, watch what people are doing, see if you can, learn a few things, but never be in the way. Never, ever be in the way. Like, if people work fast. Oh, that's another thing. Work fast.
Yeah.
Don't let producers go nuts, ADs go nuts. Don't be the department that anybody's waiting on. Don't make people wait on you. It's too expensive. Filming is really expensive. And if they're waiting on you, you're costing them a lot of money. So be fast. Be fast, but be efficient. Be flexible. Don't get your feelings hurt. Have a thick skin. Have a sense of humor. But yeah, like if I have to say excuse me because I'm like walking through with bags of set dressing and you're like in the way, it's like, okay, once. If I have if I have to say excuse me to the same person more than once, it's like, I am not going to do anything to further your career because I don't want you on my sets because you get in my way. So like be sensitive about the space that you're occupying on a set. Like don't ever be in front of the monitor and have a director or a DP or an actor have to say, excuse me, so that they can see the monitor. It's like, if you want to watch the monitor, watch it from far back enough that nobody is going to have to say, excuse me, to get to it, to see it.
I think it's interesting that you say that too, because I mean, it is very much a collective group of people that come together, but there definitely is also a hierarchy, and you have to respect the hierarchy. And even though it is an art form, film and TV, and even commercials are an art version, of promoting something, of marketing. There still is the logistic part of running it still has to have a hierarchy. And even like when I go to set to visit productions that are filming in our area, I always ask the location manager or whoever has brought me on, sometimes the publicist, where would you like me to stand? And I know to be quiet, have my phones off, to not occupy if all of a sudden grips are walking by with something, to move off of a path and let them, pass by, to not all of a sudden start talking to the actors. If a famous actor walks by, I try to get their attention or anything. And definitely stay away from the monitor, watch it from afar and let those who are doing their job. And it's interesting because some people get offended by the hierarchy and don't understand that is the only way this well-oiled machine can operate under the stress, under the budget, under the time that they have to do everything in, you know, and like you said, you have to be a team player with that and understand where you fit into that and not get in the way of someone who's doing their job.
And don't sit down.
Never sit
down. Don't sit on prop furniture. That makes me crazy. Like if I rented a sofa, I didn't rent it for you to sit on. I rented it for the actors to sit on. I don't sit on it. Don't ever sit in director's chairs unless you're an actor and it has your name on it. Just don't sit down. Don't sit down unless you're in the production office doing paperwork or it's lunchtime. Don't sit down. Stay busy. You know, like if you're a PA, you know, be the one who's working the hardest. Be the one who's like picking up water bottles, which make me crazy, and coffee cups. Like crew members don't clean up after themselves, which is super annoying. So, you know, somebody needs to pick all that stuff up. I pick up a lot of that stuff because I see it on my rented furniture. So yeah, if you're the one who, because people see you, people see what you're doing. If you're the one sitting down on your phone, you're not going to get
everyone notices. Yeah.
If you're the one who's like constantly looking for something to do, offering to help, you know, emptying garbage bags. Empty the garbage bags. They get to be overflowing. Empty the garbage bags. You know, like, I know that this isn't glamorous work, but you have to start somewhere. And, you know, the harder you work at the below the line stuff, the faster you're going to find your way into whatever department you want to be in, whether it's set dressing, props, decorating, grip, electric. You know, you're gonna get a leg up if you impress people enough with your work ethic and your good attitude. Oh, and never be late. Never be late. Always be early. Never be late. It's unforgivable to be late. Can't be late.
It really is. If your team is waiting on you, if anybody's waiting on you when it comes to film.
Yeah, especially if you're driving the prop truck with all of my set dressing in it.
Oh, that hurts.
Don't be late.
No.
Yes, that's happened.
There's a fail for them. That's too bad. Aw. So you know that we've opened up for filming in the Redwood region during the pandemic. We have all kinds of rules that we are going to be following and that we're going to be enforcing, which, you know, we wish the best for the productions in our community in regards to that. And right now, what are your thoughts about filming in the industry? I know you guys moved to the area without really realizing that we had an industry here in the Redwood region. And now that, you know, you've become aware of it and you're in our community, what are your thoughts about, you know, maybe pre-COVID and post-COVID or during COVID of filming up here, you know, with productions?
COVID aside, because you know, I'm having such a hard time wrapping my head around what that's going to look like to actually be working, you know,
right. Yeah.
Masks and, you know, I can't really answer the COVID part just because I have no idea how that's going to work. I'm going to let the grown-ups figure that out.
I feel you.
How it's going to work.
Yeah.
But, as far as filming in this region, I just feel like, you know, the work that you're doing, putting it on the map is extraordinary. Like that's what needs to happen. Like everybody just needs to know that we're up here. It's spectacular up here. And the variety of looks that you can get. The first time we came here, before we moved years ago, we, you know, took a drive up north and went to Fern Canyon. And, you know, we're hiking in Fern Canyon. And by hiking, I mean 5 minutes walk out of my car. And what I was looking at rivaled full day treks that we took in Costa Rica. It's like, I'm in the jungle. I'm in the jungle. And in 10 minutes, I could be at the beach. Or
Gold Beach.
Or in 10 minutes, I could be in the woods. It's extraordinary, the amount, you know, the looks, the different looks that you get here. And really, really convincing. You know, you could absolutely do the jungle here. You can obviously do the beach here. You can do the woods here. So it has so much to offer, you know, more so than I think any other part of California, at least for its natural beauty.
I'll pay you later for that statement. Thank you. No, thank you. No, I feel lucky when I go to conferences and trade shows and try to promote our area for filming based on our locations. I feel so lucky because it's not like I'm selling sidewalks or
Right.
malls. You know, it is pretty stunning, which is why I chose to live here. And then I feel so lucky to work in film here. And I think it's why we do have a handful of professional film people who have chosen to be here and live here is because of the beauty, you know, of the area. And so, yeah, it's a pretty easy sell if someone needs this kind of look in their production, you know, for sure. And Fern Canyon, as you may already know, was in Lost World, Jurassic Park. So they had the dinosaur coming down that valley of ferns, you know, and it is pretty stunning. It's a magical location for sure, one of its kind. I wish we had more of something similar to that because we have so many tourists that it's become harder to film there because 24/7 day and night there's a lot of people who like to go look at that area. So it's pretty epic.
But even 4 minutes from my house is Sequoia Park, you know, where we take the dogs, and amazing.
Yeah, we filmed Wrinkle in Time there. We filmed Red Bull, a Red Bull shoot there. We filmed what else have we filmed? Well, we have a shoot in a week that's going to be filming there. Yeah. So yeah, we've Red Bull. Sequoia Park has gotten used a lot, definitely for a lot of different productions over the years, and it's really amazing because it's in the center of Eureka, you know, the city. You know, and it's not even a state or one of our national parks. It's just a city park, and it's pretty stunning.
Huge.
Yes, yeah, it is. It's
embarrassingly, I could get lost in there.
Oh well, we'll find you. We'll come after you. Just tell JP that you went in there, and then we'll send a search party. It'll be fun. Let me ask you, with the local crew, we have local crew. And you are now become part of our local crew, but the local crew who's maybe new to being crew, they've only done productions that have come here, and not as often maybe perhaps as they'd like to, you know, so we get about 20-25 shoots a year. So not necessarily all of them hire local. Sometimes it's commercial that brings their whole team. Maybe it's an indie film that then hires more of the, you know, PAs for different departments and things, production assistants. But we also have local vendors, businesses that work with productions when they come to town and they need, you know, a local caterer, or they might need to rent cars, or they might need tools or different things that they need. What would you say that local crew and vendors need to know in relation to the art department, to set decorating? What things should they think of or know in order to either work with you as a crew member or as a vendor?
As far as crew, put your phone away. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and especially if you're, let's say you're an art department PA, or a set dresser. If you're an art department PA or a set dresser, always, always, always have a pen and a notebook and a Sharpie and a knife in your pocket at all times. At all times. Because if somebody asks you to do something, you need to be able to, if they're sending you on a run, you need to be able to pull out your notebook and your pen, and you need to write down what is being asked of you. Like,
have your tools.
Yeah, I've been asked more than once, can you text that to me? I'm like, no, you can get the notebook out of your pocket and you can write it down. And I've had people come back with half of what I asked for. Like, where's the X, Y, and Z? Did you write it down? I didn't really have a pen. So, yeah. Yeah, don't do those things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so just, you know, work fast, be efficient, don't get your feelings hurt, and have a notebook and a pen and a Sharpie and a knife in your pocket. You will be asked for those things because I don't carry them.
Right, that's their job. Yeah, that's their job, is to carry those things. Yes, yes.
And it's like, I don't carry them.
Right.
You know? Because I don't, you know, it's like, I don't always have pockets.
Right, right. You've earned that right.
to not have pockets.
Yeah, yeah.
For over 30 years.
Right, yeah. You've earned that right.
Yeah. So as far as vendors, be film friendly. Develop a reputation of being like the film friendly place to get blah blah blah. Like I did this one SNL thing. It was one of the terrifying ones. It was American Ninja Warriors, and like a fake American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, wait, okay, so we need to build a swimming pool and bleachers for the audience. And so, I called the one film friendly bleachers place, because, event planning takes weeks, sometimes months. You're calling a bleacher place and you're like, hi, I need you to drop this stuff off today. Because it's not like I can call them at 9 o'clock at night when I've been given the script, they're closed. I call them the next morning. I'm like, I need you to drop this off at Silver Cup Studios today. I need X number of steps, and I need X number of running feet of bleachers. And because, normally set dressers do everything, when it comes to things like that, the vendor has to put them together. It's like a liability if somebody else puts them together. So it's like, not only do these people have to deliver these bleachers that day, but they have to send the crew to set them up. So if I didn't have people like that in New York that I could call, I would be sunk. I'd be like, well, I guess you can put it in post, but where are people going to sit? And like picture car guys. I had this one guy that I would, as soon as I realized, oh, we need picture cars, I need a vintage Monte Carlo, and I would text him at 10 o'clock at night, and 5 minutes later, my phone would be going bing, bing, and I'd be getting pictures of vintage Monte Carlos from him. He's like,
wow.
Oh, when I get to my office in the morning, I'm like, you've already sent me 5.
Wow.
So be film friendly, be willing to rent stuff, not only because it saves money to not have to purchase stuff like furniture and things like that, but there's also, again, it's the logistics. It's like, okay, you've rented a house full of furniture, where's it gonna go? So it's great when you've rented it from a place that it has a home to go back to.
Right.
So that you're not like having to store all of this stuff that you had to buy and wait for the end of the film so that you can sell it all off. It's like renting stuff is fantastic. Respond quickly, like my picture car guy sending me pictures of vintage Monte Carlos at 10:30 at night. Like respond within a couple of hours. Obviously if you're getting emails at midnight, you might not get to them until the next morning, but like respond quickly, because everything happens so quickly. It's like, if I get a call from you a couple days later, it's like, that ship sailed. We already shot that. It already aired.
Right. That makes sense.
Indulge our crazy hours, be willing to maybe open up the loading dock a little early, and it would be great if somebody would build a sound stage here, because all the natural beauty that's here, that's all exterior. It would be great if there was the capability to build cover sets. Like if you
right.
Had, and for me, a cover set is a dressed set that isn't necessarily, that isn't necessarily in the schedule, or it might be in the schedule like way late in the schedule, so that you have this dressed set that's ready to go, because you're supposed to be shooting in the woods, but it's going to be pouring down rain all day. So move the shoot that day to the cover set because it's ready to go.
Yeah. No, we've been working on that one for probably 10 years now. And we do have, a few warehouses and fairgrounds that get used, as one does when you go on location, but it's not a true set, it's not soundproof. And so, yeah, the goal has been, and we've been in numerous talks with different people. So if any of our locals are watching this, we need one. And definitely
walls if you have a big space.
Yeah, we'll help you design it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, all those things that you've said are super important when it comes to vendors and crew, and the flexibility, being prepared, having the supplies, being able to know that the supply, being maybe renting something out you would normally only sell, like you said, and answering in a timely manner, all of those things. And it's been interesting. I think for the most part, we've been really working hard to get our local crew and vendors and just community support. We call everybody film friendly here. You know, we really try to work on getting the whole community film friendly so that when you do go knocking on a door and say, hey, I love your house, we're interested in it for an indie film, someone understands even that process, even if maybe they don't want to rent the house for the film, but they get it and they realize, and they're like, oh, well, maybe my house is not right, but that house might be, or let me help you, you know, whatever, that we're a film friendly community because we understand the benefits of having a production come to us, you know.
And they're huge. The benefits are huge.
The economic development when they're here.
Absolutely.
And then the film tourism later when they leave. Right. And then they go and talk to each other. We've had so many in the past couple of years repeat productions that either have come back or have told someone else to come here. And I can't tell you how many times it's happened. Matter of fact, I've made 2 movies with Jason Kavarski, who is the art department for An Evening with Beverly Loughlin and also Swiss Army Man. And now I have a different movie. He's not on that movie, but he told them about us and working with us. And so it's like, this will be like a 3rd movie that has had to do, you know, with Jason. And so it's been amazing how many referrals that can happen. So it's really important that our community, definitely our vendors and our crew are friendly and understand all these concepts you're talking about, because it not only helps them individually, but it helps the community as a whole.
Yeah, every neighborhood that you're shooting in is going to see the benefits of that. You know, the little corner market.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's definitely going to happen like that. What are your final thoughts on all of this, on all of our filming here, and you being a set, you know, dresser and all of your experiences? Decorator. Sorry. Decorator. Sorry. Yes, you gotta get your titles right. That's actually another thing, is you have to know people's names. I remember my uncle. My uncle was an art director. He was first started off. I can't remember what he started off as, but he eventually became art director and production designer later. And he did all of Norman Lear's TV shows. And I'm pretty sure I told you all of that. And so I have a soft spot for the art department. But I remember what he told me back when I was like 18, 19 years old: learn everyone's names and learn everyone's titles, and, you know where they are and what they do. So please forgive me, please. But what are your final thoughts in regards to, you know, your career and your industry and what you do, and now living here in the region and filming in general?
I couldn't feel more fortunate to be here. I absolutely love it here. And I am so hopeful that I can just make a go of it here in film, which I certainly didn't expect when moving here. But it really seems possible and likely even, you know, which is yes, please, which would just be remarkable, because it's the people here, you know, it's just such a wonderful place to be. You know, I'm so happy to be around people that are just calmer and kind, and people don't honk when they're driving. And you know, like it's hard to live around that kind of aggression. And I spent a lot of time driving. You know, we were living in New Jersey, and I might have to be on set at 3 o'clock in the morning in Brooklyn or Queens, and so it might be, you know, an hour drive, and then on the way home I might be in rush hour traffic, having had a really long day. And it's like, can we not be at war? You know?
Yeah.
It's brutal. And I get none of that here. It's just amazing. Like, people are just kind here. And the weather is kind here.
Right? I feel the same. I think that we do have a good group of people. And maybe it's because, you know, it's a small number spread out over a large, you know, amount of footage, but I do think people are pretty kind in Northern California. And you know, I do feel very hopeful with our productions, you know, as far as kind of productions we've been getting, thanks to the tax incentive for California, you know, as well as just, you know, again, people passing on, what it was like to work here. And so
Right.
that's been, increasing the quality and quantity of productions that we have coming. And hopefully, with the compliance that we're putting into place for the COVID-19 protocol, hopefully it's going to look like, and this is basically what I told everybody, it's going to be more like a NASA science experiment than looking like a movie set based on all the 22 pages of compliances that we are adhering to, and the registered nurses we have that will be controlling all of that part. It's been amazing that, hopefully if everything works out, we have a plethora of productions more than normal interested in coming here, because I think people don't want to leave the state for
Right.
obvious reasons. And so we are hopeful that we can take care of these productions while we take care of our community, and still somehow, have the economic benefit from it. So yeah, hopefully we will be having some productions very soon for you to work on, that will be safe. And I look so forward to that. I'm just tickled pink that you guys are here. And I really want to thank you for taking the time to let us interview you.
And thank you. And thank you so much for the work that you're doing. The fact that you are putting us on the map, and it's amazing.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, my dear, until next time. Thank you.
Stay safe.